Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and welcome to Thursday Thoughts today. We've been a little bit delayed because of some technical issues, because I forgot that I live in a different time zone and I was putting a different time zone in StreamYard. So I hope that okay. Sorry about that. And I've got YouTube open trying to figure out what was going on. So anyway, we are here today and we have Coach Aishah Javed with us. You all know Coach Aishah from her awesome, mashallah, talk that we did in the conference. I hope that you all remember, mashallah. Aishah is, actually, you can introduce yourself, Aishah. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, of course. I would be happy to do that, inshallah. So my name is Aishah, your Islamic relationship and divorce coach. And I was the one who spoke about the different type of hearts in the conference. And I think I still get some of you messaging me today as well with number one, from the affirmation cards that you guys signed up to. So plenty of you guys have got those affirmation cards. And also on our WhatsApp group chat as well. I've mashallah, such a beautiful, active group that we have there as well, of women coming together and supporting one another. That's something we've been very active on as well. So I'm that Aishah.
The reason I said Aisha, please introduce yourself, because for some reason my brain doesn't work exactly like everyone else's. So I do know what I want to say, but then I'll mix it up. So I know that she's a relationship and divorce coach, but I will say the wrong thing, and I know that, and everyone knows me by now. So hopefully, inshallah, you'll forgive me for not introducing Aisha.
I think what it is,
I wanted a real title instead of the one that I make up for you.
The thing is, yeah, when we're talking to one another, we are respectful of our titles, but we see each of them more as co-workers and colleagues and friends. So we don't remember what we all do all the time.
It's just like, oh,
Aisha, this. So, alhamdulillah, that's all it is.
It is. I know, and you actually reminded me of something when you work at a school and the kids are telling you, Mr. So-and-so, and you're trying to work out, who is Mr. So-and-so? And then you're like, is it John? Dave. It's Dave, isn't it? You're trying to work it out who it is.
And then when the kids find out, they're like, oh, I found out the real name. My girl did that the other day. I found out Mrs. Khan's real name. And I was like,
it's so amazing, isn't it? Mashallah. I want to welcome our viewers, mashallah. Sister Aini, Sister Saima, walaikum salam, sisters. Thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate that you're coming in and joining in. And Saima and Aini are also regulars on our WhatsApp as well, aren't you? And I think wasn't it you, Aini, that asked for an Urdu speakers group? She said it's a bit hard to always keep up with the English. So I said, Walaikum salam, Sister Anjum. So I said, okay, let's open up an Urdu speakers group, which was, well, Aisha, you started this off, the video you sent me in the morning.
Actually, it was a confession to make. Like, I was mindlessly scrolling last night, and it reminded me of you, and I thought, oh, I need to send this because I was really belly laughing last night. My cats probably thought I was going mad. My girl probably heard me in her sleep, so that's why I forwarded it. Everybody,
it was brilliant, mashallah. It was so if you'd like to know what the video is that we're talking about, join our groups and you'll find out, inshallah. But it was hilarious, mashallah. We're here today to talk about why or how to make learning fun for your children. And it's one of the things that Aisha and I spoke about when we first started talking, wasn't it, Aisha? Do you remember? And we were talking about how to make learning interesting and fun for the kids. And it actually came up this week in the WhatsApp as well, that how do you encourage your kids to sit down and learn? And how do you make it fun? What are the kind of things that you can do to make learning fun? So we will be talking about that today. One of the things, and we will talk about that in just a few minutes, because I just want to say one more thing that also came up. It actually came up today, which is why I didn't plan the email or the YouTube around that although that is really important. And it has come up before, so I just want to mention it now because it is really important. And I know that Aishah's got some very good insights on this topic as well. So if I had time before before the live, I would have told you what I was going to talk about. I can see your face now. You're like, oh God, what's she going to say now? But what I'm going to say is this, okay? So today came up in one of the conversations that if I am always thinking about myself and I'm thinking about self-care and I'm thinking about putting myself first, does that make me like a feminist? And, you know, I want to be on the independent side. And does that really fit in with the Islam that we're trying to teach? Okay, so it's not really, I don't feel like looking after yourself is an alien part of Islam. What I do feel is that it's an alien side of our culture, right? And the reason I say this, because when I was about 15 years old, we went to Pakistan for the first time. And I've only been twice, mashallah, but inshallah I'll get to go again. I'm acting as though I went like so many times, but I've only been twice. But anyway, the first time I went, my cousin sister gave birth to a little baby and one of my aunties at the same time. You know how you have intergenerational people, right? So anyway, my point was that one of the aunties that gave birth, she was in a room and she was laid on the bed. Okay. Yeah. Now, I've been brought up in the UK. I've seen my mom, my aunties, all my, you know, the cousins that are in the UK, they've given birth and they're literally walking around the next day doing whatever they need to do. And I saw this lady lying down. So I asked my parents, did she like have a really difficult birth or something? Why is she still lying down on the bed? And my dad actually said that she's going to lie down there for about 6 weeks now because this is the only time she gets to rest, right? And that to me, 15-year-old me, was like shocking. I was like, what are you talking about? Have somebody back there? Sorry. So I was like, what are you talking about? How is that possible? How is it possible? And maybe about two or 3 weeks later, we did go to her house, and she hadn't, you know, she wasn't on the bed for 6 weeks. I think it was about 3 weeks later, and I actually started to see the kind of work that they had to do over there, which is the same as over here as well. In UK, in the West, in Qatar, wherever you live, women are always working and we're always serving and we're always putting everyone else first rather than ourselves. And now I think we're kind of, I don't like to use the phrase waking up, but it is technically waking up, isn't it? To the fact that, hang on, why are we doing all of this, right? And then maybe the people around us are telling us, well, you know, you should be doing it like this, or you should be doing it like that. And why aren't you doing it like this or that? And that's bringing some elements of, I guess, different feelings in. What do you think, Aishah?
I think this is such an excellent question and topic, really. Straight away, the answer is no. I don't think you're a feminist just because you want to look after yourself. Like, it is part of our deen to do that. Like, for example, cleanliness is half of faith. That's a hadith. Cleanliness is half of our faith. So we decide to go to the salon, you know, and get our hair removed, or do that at home and have a face mask, hair mask, and all that. That's part of faith. Like, if you think about it like that, that's part of faith. And nowadays, when we see the word self-love, we think it's physical self-love, right? Like, you know, hair masks and all that shabang. And with Iram, we spoke about this not long ago. With self-care, we spoke about the self-care isn't only just the physical things that we do, it's also internally the spiritual things, whether are we keeping boundaries, do we have good character, all that sort of stuff is self-care. And my opinion of that is no, because you can still be independent and be married and depend on your husband for his income or the physical labor he does at home. Independence doesn't mean you do everything on your own. It means you know your worth. So you can still know your worth and be relying on your husband for income, for him driving you to places, or him looking after the children when you've got stuff to do. or for work or whatever it is. I think the idea of feminism has really corrupted so many people because we have such a different ideology about it, like what it is to different people. And in my opinion, feminism is so different to everyone. Every woman will say something different, like, I'm a feminist because this is what it means to me, this is what it means to me. It's a bit like, God forbid anybody come for me, but it's a bit like the gender argument that we have now. It's like people want to identify with different types of pronouns. Feminism is pretty much the same thing. It has the same kind of foundation, but it's so different for many people at the same time. Like, I think I'm a feminist. Like, I think I'm empowered, but I still will know my role as a wife and as a woman of Islam, or as a sister to my siblings, and as a daughter to my mother and father. Like, that will never be undermined because that's the way Allah has created me. So self-love is part of Islam. It's not feminism. It's self-love and self-independence, and being independent is part of Islam. Because if we think about it, women had to be independent anyway. And even in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, think about how many battles they went on, and they had to leave women in charge of certain things. Yes, some men had to stay behind to look after these women, but that one man or few men can't be in every single household. So they had to bring in the food. They had to do the crops whenever they needed to. They had to sell the food. They had to make it and sell it and distribute it and all that sort of stuff. So they were so independent. They didn't live for men. Just like we're waking up to this ideology that we actually have our own like bar, and we do need to rest when we need rest. Like post-baby, you mentioned post-baby, a lot of people don't rest, and we seem to think that it's glorified that we don't rest, actually, as mothers especially. Like it's like, oh, I only slept 3 hours last night, and it's supposed to be such a big deal. Like, wow, you slept 3 hours, you must have been working so hard. Yes, you were working hard, but you still need rest. And there's also a hadith about that, like your eyes and your body have rights over you. There are going to be nights as parents that we're not going to have enough sleep, but you make that up somewhere else, because your body does have a haq over you, and it will testify against you. Like this, my owner didn't look after me. Because I think how we got to look at it is our bodies and our life is a gift from Allah. And so we do need to eat properly. We do need to feed ourselves properly, good food, nutritious food. We do need to exercise and keep fit. A lot of people don't need to exercise as much as other people because they have kids. That's enough exercise. All these different things, we need to understand that just because you're looking after yourself, it doesn't mean it's selfish either, because we hear this all the time from even in our groups that, I want to do this and I want to do this, but I can't because it's selfish. But the thing is, if you do not look after yourself, you don't put yourself first, you don't give yourself that time that you really need, whether that's mental time, whether that's physical time to do X, Y, and Z, then who else is going to come and do it for you? Because ultimately, this is how I like to see it, is if we don't look after ourselves, I believe that's self-harm. And that's genuine self-sabotage. You are sabotaging your own self for the sake of what? For the sake of children, for the sake of a spouse, for the sake of parents. And although, yes, that's rewardable in terms of serving those family members, what's not rewardable is that you have neglected your own self. And that is an Islamic principle every single person needs to maintain. We need to look after our bodies, physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically. We need to look after our minds. Are we putting the right things in our minds? Are we giving our bodies the right time it needs to rest so that it can recharge, so that you can lead your family, so that you can give other people what they need around you? It's not just about giving, it's about receiving as well, and giving to your own self, not just giving to other people. And this is where burnout happens, because we don't look after our bodies, we don't look after ourselves, our own mental health, and we think, I've had a baby, I need to just get on it really quick. But if you had planned before, you won't need to do as much. There's a reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us days off during the menstruation, during post nifas, which is post birth. There's a reason for that. Take advantage of that time period that you have, instead of imposing all these rules upon yourself, because that's just really difficult to have all these expectations upon yourself. Like, I think what we forget is that we're teaching our children the same thing. We're teaching our children the same thing. I'm reading your comments as I'm talking as well. Okay, so Quratul Ain, you said it's really corrupted and people are not ready to listen, even they have their own fixed mindset. Yeah, so fixed mindset is something people are really, really struggling with. There's two types of mindset people can have, either a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. And in fixed mindset, people they don't want change, right? This is who I am type of mindset. This is who I am. I'm not going to change. Whereas a growth mindset is open to that change, is open to understanding that, yes, I think like this right now, but if there are other opinions around, I'm willing to listen, I'm willing to grow as much as I possibly can, inshallah. Okay, I'm just reading all the comments. I'm so glad I know how to use it. I learned during the conference how to see all of your comments.
That's awesome, mashallah. Did you mention what Sister Aini said? The people are not ready to listen. They've got their own fixed mindset.
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about there. Like, there's two different types of mindset. Fixed, where someone's just going to say, this is who I am, and that's it. Like, I'm not going to change. And those type of people are so difficult to sway, if you will, because they've already got it inside them. Like, this is who I am, and I'm not changing. The only thing you need to be really fixed about is your deen, in like the core beliefs, right? You don't ever compromise on that. But other things, you have to be willing to just even listen to what the other person says, because it's different viewpoints on different things, right?
Yeah.
And then someone's just said, I want to focus on good sleep habits. That's such a good one, and that's one of my goals as well this year as well, is to really focus on my habits. I think just recently I was telling my friend that I'm working on sleep training myself, and she laughed at me, and I was like, did you think it was just for babies? I said, no. I said, sometimes we have to train ourselves again. I go, it's like when your children are off school for holidays, you kind of have to train them again to be in bed for a certain time. I go, I have to do that to myself, especially when we're going from like winter to summer, where the days are longer, because you have to adjust, right? Or if I've had a holiday from praying or something like that, I have to like reset myself and train myself, like, no, I'm going to sleep at this time. And I think even as adults, we forget the basic things, like things that we do with our children, we think we can't do with ourselves.
Yeah.
Like training in sleep, like going back to basics. And we struggle with that.
It's brilliant, mashallah. And their sisters are saying, thank you for raising the point, because it was a relief to listen to you, Aisha, and I knew that this was going to be a good point. And that's why, Aini, I'm sorry I left you on red all day, because I knew that I was going to have Aisha later on.
She asked a similar question.
Yeah. She was talking about something similar in the group.
Yeah.
So Saima said that yes, it's hard then to make anything fun for the children, and that is why I mentioned this at the beginning. You're absolutely right, because if your mind is on I'm tired, I've got lots going on, I'm I haven't eaten, I'm hungry, then
Yeah.
how can you go to the next level? So we talked about this earlier as well in Maslow's hierarchy. That works backwards for Muslims. We know that because in the hierarchy, it's supposed to be like your food, shelter, and everything, and then, a safe space to live, and then it goes on like that. And the last part is the spiritual aspect of being a human, right? And then going from oh, I love you too, Aini. And then going from Muslims, we do our spiritual self first, don't we? We look after our spiritual self first, and then we look after all the other aspects. So people say, like, you've got to pray, you've got to do this. But even in Islam, like we've said it before as well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what's the rule for praying? If you still have time and you're hungry and you still have time to pray, eat first, then pray. Right? That's the rule, isn't it? That's what we follow. We don't say, no, 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 I've got to pray first, then I eat. So it's the same kind of thing for us. We've got to look after ourselves, then we can look after our kids, and then make the stuff fun. And I love that Anjum's brought this up, what Sister Farah Halabi said. She said it in one of her emails this week as well. She said, we can't be everyone's cup of tea, otherwise we're a mug. And that's absolutely true, right?
It's
We
the
can't.
accent that it's the accent that Farah has as well. It sounds much better when she says it.
She wouldn't say mug.
You are such
Say
a
mug.
mug. And I'm like, yes.
You have to say it in a southern accent. Okay, I'll call one of my kids down to say it for you. So yeah, mashallah, I'm just really glad, and I like the fact that Shalan, you've said about focusing on sleep habits, and as Aisha said, I fully agree with that. It's very difficult sometimes to get yourself into that routine, and then but you realize that once you're in the routine as well, it'll be much easier for you to do that for your kids, because if we're struggling with being in the routine, then of course the kids are going to struggle, because they'll see us, they'll see how we are, and so on. Anyway, so I think that we've spent 20 minutes on this. I'll put a timer in the description later on. I also want to let you know that if you want to join Aisha, she's doing you're doing a one-day workshop, aren't you, Aisha? VIP day?
Yeah, so the VIP days is something that I have just started doing. So VIP days for those ladies that want to spend like literally an entire day with me, going through any type of healing with me. So for those of you who don't know, I'm just going to reintroduce myself again and then tell you what the VIP days are. So what I do focus on really, so as an Islamic and relationship divorce coach, I do focus on women who have gone or going through a divorce, inshallah. And so the VIP days are just like an entire day with me to go through either one or two really deep topics that you need someone to sit down with you and really just speak about it and get some actionable things put into place like straight away. Obviously, just a disclaimer, it's not a replacement for any type of therapy or long-term coaching, but it is a foundation that you can start with, just give you a taster of what it is, but also to get you that kickstart for you, because sometimes we're stuck and one or two sessions is not enough for us, and we need someone to just sit down one time, just go through all these ideas or things that are in our heads to get off our chest. So that's something I'm doing right now. Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
That's brilliant, mashallah. So if you would like to join Sister Aisha on one of her VIP days, I've put the link in the description for you all, inshallah. And then, inshallah, you can follow the link and get onto one of the days, because I'll be honest with you, over the last few years, just one second, my in-laws are around. That's why just carry on, Aisha, one more.
Love in-laws, alhamdulillah. Guys, this is why I do not live with anybody. Alhamdulillah. This is fun, isn't it?
It's more comedy than this morning. So in terms of me and Aisha, sometimes we haven't spoken for like a week, and it feels like a really long time, because I feel like we've said it before, haven't we? It's just about having that supportive person on your side.
Yeah.
And I've forgotten what the point I was trying to make, Aishah. I'm so sorry. It was about.
So we spoke about the VIP days, right? And
Yeah,
one of the things I said was about just getting all that information out your mind and speaking
out
to
of the
someone.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what we do is we send each other voice notes, and me and Aisha love voice notes. There are other people in our group that don't like voice notes as much, but me and you, we do, don't we? And some of our voice notes are crazy long, and it might take me like a day to listen to it, right? Like the full thing. But the point that I wanted to make was that someone's there to listen to you. Even if it took me a long time, I was there to hear Aisha. She's there to hear me. So we would like to be the sounding board for you ladies as well. So if you want to tell us voice messages, let us know, inshallah, and we will be there for you. Though we're trying our best to be like a really supportive group. We know that everyone's going through something different. And one of the other things that came out in the WhatsApp group this week was one of the mums said, I didn't realize parenting is hard for everyone. And I just wanted to
Yeah.
give her a huge hug, right? And you just want it because it's like, of course it is. It's so hard. It's really hard. It's not just like, oh, here we are, let's have a baby and look at the baby clothes and all of that, which I thought it was. I'm going to be honest with you. The whole time I was focusing on like, oh, isn't that cute? Isn't that cute? Oh, she's going to look so cute in this. This is the kind of thing I was focusing on. I didn't really think that I've got to raise a human now. Like, it just doesn't occur to you. I don't know. Maybe
No,
I
it
was young.
doesn't. No, it doesn't. Like my girl has just recently turned 8, and I still look at her and I still can't believe I'm a mom.
Yeah.
Like I just think, where's the time gone? And yes, it's easily forgotten, all those tears and all those times that you cried your eyeballs out because you're like, I don't know what to do. But I think someone else has raised the point as well, in relation to that that statement that the sister made was, no matter what age children are at, is gonna be a different type of hard. And that's why I completely disagree when someone comes in and says, oh, you can't do this, you should have taught your children different in this way and this way and this way. But you don't realize that that mother has been with the child since they were really young, and they know that child and they know how difficult it is. And they've, because I think with parenting, in my opinion, it's like you're putting little blocks on top of one another all the time, every year that they're growing, every day that they're growing, and you're building on what you've already taught them. Then you add a bit more, then you build and add a bit more every single time. And sometimes parents get really overwhelmed with that because they feel like our kid needs to know this information by this age, and they get really caught up in that. And I was one of those. I wanted my girl to know all these different things by this age, but then I just had to really take it slow and realize that every child is different. They're going to learn at different paces, but so are you as a parent, and you're going to change based on all your experiences of everything, whether you have more children or not, or your years of wisdom are just going to increase. Someone's asked, how do I join the group? Are you talking about our WhatsApp group? I think we've got the link will probably be in our bio.
I think it is, yeah. It'll be there. Otherwise, I'll put it in towards the end.
Yeah, you need to, if you're not already joined in our WhatsApp group, please do join us. We'll post the link again, because it's a very, mashallah, very active group where the sisters are genuinely like have this love for one another and have genuine love of wanting to support each other in whatever that is. Someone asked the other day, which I'm very envious of. They asked for, it was you actually said it, can we have recipes for kids? And there was hundreds of messages, and I am always hungry, right? So I was reading them. I was like, I'm going to leave. I'm going to have that. I'm going to have that. Oh, people have such good taste in food. I saved all of them. I didn't reply to anything though, because I was like, oh, wow, I'm going to have that. I was too busy looking at what I could have rather than adding my own recipes. So you're always going to take something from it.
Yeah, that's true. And Annie said the link is also in the emails, and I've just tried to get it, but I don't know where it is. I'll find it. Don't worry, inshallah. I'll find it in a minute, sisters. Do you know why I asked about those recipes, Aisha? Because that was me feeling inadequate. because when I started, when I've just told you that my in-laws are here, mashallah, bless them, they're so lovely, but they love cooking, they love eating, they love like the whole process of it all. And everyone knows that I'm not that fond of cooking. I'm okay at cooking, but I'm not fond of it, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And I was kind of told that the kids don't eat enough variety, and it's true. My kids eat kebabs, kofte, keema, anything that's made out of mincemeat, they'll eat it, right? And you know, subhanallah, it's difficult because you feel like you are being judged. So I was like, can someone give me some recipes that are good for kids that they'll eat? You know, and I remember asking this on our group, and I got some good, really good suggestions. So I thought, do you know what? Let me ask on another group. Well, the other group was having the discussion anyway, and I realized my kid's not going to eat any of that. They're talking about shrimp linguine, and I was like, no, my kids don't even eat, they're not going to eat it. So I'm really glad that our group is like down to earth. They're like, right, here's some rice, there's some chicken, there you go. So
I was going to reply. I can't remember if I did, but I was definitely thinking I was going to reply to you saying, whatever I give them. Because let's be real, I don't have all the thing is, I was blessed with being able to eat literally anything, but I was also blessed with a girl who's a very picky eater. And I'm not like, it's such a stark difference. It's unbelievable. But because I will eat anything, I stick to the same foods as what your baby's going to eat, right? Because you can't be bothered to make two different things. And it is hard when you're trying to. The one thing we can eat abundance of is broccoli. Like, just like that. Like, we'll just, whether it's raw or not, she absolutely loves it. So I try to make a lot of that in whatever we make, even if it's just a side. And slowly but surely, I've had to introduce different things and just be the bad cop and say, I don't have anything else. And there's no option but to have that. And then when my girl tries things, she's like, this is so good, Mom. Like, yeah, I've only been trying to get you to eat it for 4 years now.
I do have to say that it's true though, because I've got mashallah picky eaters as well, and Miriam, my eldest, she went to stay with my mum for 2 months, and when she came back, she was like, "Mum, can you make gosht?" And I looked at her like, "Huh? Where'd you get that from?" Like, why do you want to eat? Why do you want to eat that? By the way, if you don't know what that is, sisters, it's just lamb curry. And she was like, "Oh yeah, you know, I ate it at Nanny's house. It was so lovely, so yummy, and so on." And then sometimes she does eat it when I make it, but sometimes when she still doesn't feel like eating it, she'll say, "Oh, it's not Nanny's gosht today, it's yours, so I don't want to eat it." She'll say that. And she's 18, right? But she is now, I would say now she's getting like a bit of a wider palette. So, you know, inshallah, there's hope. But I just wanted like a bit of a variety, and we got some really good. I'm quite looking forward to some of those as well. Then we'll have to share them in the group, inshallah, when we make them. Shalan said that in her city there are Muslims, but they look at her because she wants to drink water, and it's difficult to live a healthy life with such surroundings. I think that for you, sister, watch Coach Farah Halabi's video on what do they think, because we shouldn't be bothered about what they think. They, whoever they is, inshallah, they can think whatever they like. Although I have just said that I worry about what my in-laws think. It's true.
In-laws are different. You got to listen to them.
But just generally speaking, don't worry about what they think. Anyway, let me just do the last part, which was about helping your kids to learn, inshallah. But I just want everyone to understand, and that's what I was trying to say before, that that everything is related. So looking after yourself, looking at different foods, being in a WhatsApp group, having that community around you, it's all related, sisters. Because once you've got your foundation straight, then you can build anything you like on that foundation. And what will happen is that once you become more confident with your parenting, you'll be able to like step further out of your comfort zone. So I know sisters in the UK that are my friends. I grew up with them. I went to college and university with some of them, and they won't take their kids on holidays abroad, like ever, right? Because it's too difficult. It's oh my God, I just go down the road and I get stressed out, right? So helping them, supporting them through that, and then inshallah, when they come back to you and they go, oh my God, I've just planned a trip, that's just like amazing for me, because I'm like, oh my God, like, yeah, dude, I have to do this, you know, because we live abroad. So I have to do it. I had no choice. But obviously, if you don't live abroad, you do have a choice if you want to go, if you don't want to go. But the more that you get your kids used to different places, different surroundings, different everything, inshallah, they'll find it much easier as they grow older. And Sister Simon said it's tough to present healthy food in a fun way. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Do you remember this program, Aishah, Big Cook, Little Cook?
Oh yeah, I watched it as a kid before school. I probably even still remember every single word. And me and my younger sister were talking about that the other day. I'm like, do you remember the song? She's like, yeah.
Big Cook, Little Cook. Yeah, my kids were singing it the other day, and that's what I used to watch it with them. I'm a little bit older than Aisha. Just a little bit. But subhanAllah, that show, remember he used to like make it all look like smiley faces and happy princesses, and it'd be like whatever. And if I did, I promise you, it did not look anything like what his pictures were. It did not. But just the fact that I said, yeah, but just the fact that I said, oh, Princess Miriam wants to eat her bed with the pea. I remember that one because she would never eat peas, but I would be like, this is Sleeping Beauty's bed. So you put the mash and then you put the peas layer underneath and you put the mince underneath, and she would eat it. And just because you said it's Sleeping Beauty's bed, and it promise you it doesn't look like a bed. But yeah, but that's the kind of thing that I did, Simon. So if you can, maybe just YouTube Big Cook, Little Cook. But I'm sure there's a Canadian version of it as well. I'm sure there's
a bunch of different things. The other thing is get your children involved as much as possible. Yeah. Like, let's just say we're talking about broccoli, right? Like, you can cut the broccoli next to them, depending on the age, of course, and then ask them, like, make a pattern with it, and they will want to try it. They will want to try it. That's how I got my girl into a lot of different things. You know, whilst I would put her into a high chair and watch me cook. You know, if it's cutting vegetables and things like that. And now she's there in the kitchen before me. You know, can I cook my apple or whatever it is? Slowly but surely, she's doing everything on her own now. So.
It's beautiful, mashallah. And Sister Simon said the same thing. Sometimes you use lots of strategies and sometimes they just eat it. I know that's kids, isn't it? That is what they do. And it's the same with the homework, with any kind of work that you want them to do. So in terms of educating your children, obviously just being really natural, really hands-on with them, make the learning fun. And a lot of parents will say, well, how can I make the learning fun? You know, it's just like a bunch of spellings, right? So a really easy way to make the spellings fun is to write them on Post-it notes, and then get them to choose which one is the right spelling. So write 3 different versions of it. It does take time, it's true. But at the end of the day, when you're trying to help your child, I think the time shouldn't be as much of a factor. And I think that the more that you do it, the faster you get, if that makes sense, or the more that you can think on your feet. So I've done, like, I've been teaching a lesson. I'm in the middle of the lesson and I've just got like some wicked idea, and I do it the first year, like just as a random off the cuff, and then I bring it into my lessons every year. So I've got this activity that I do with energy levels and photons, and it's really difficult sometimes for the kids to understand, what are you talking about? Energy levels, electrons, photons. So I literally get them. So I literally draw lines on the floor with my marker. I get the different kids to stand there, and the energy, a packet of energy is a packet of crisp, right? So now they have to catch the crisp. If they've got the crisp, they've got enough energy to move on. Right. And it's just that simple little tweak that helps them to get the idea, right? And what happened in my last school, I would teach the same lesson to a few different classes. So they would say, "Are we doing the crisp lesson yet? Are we doing the crisp lesson yet?"
Because they'll
Actually,
remember it, right? And
yeah,
when they come to like exam time or just a test time, they're like, this is the question that I need for this is the crisp lesson and whatnot.
yeah. Or they'll call it chips, and I'll be really confused. I'll be like, "What are you talking about? What chips lesson? I don't do." But it's so true, right? So just giving them the hands-on experience. So I've done that with some other topics like momentum as well. I was teaching my daughter this a couple of years ago when I was homeschooling her, and she was like, "What are you talking about? Well, I don't get it." And I was like, "Look, if Hafsa's running and you're running, right? Who's going to fall over, you or Hafsa? If you bump into each other, who's going to fall over, you or Hafsa?" And she'd be like, "Hafsa." I was like, "Okay, let's do it with you and Aisha." So Aisha's older, right? And then it was like literally it becomes a game. And then within the game, they understand. And then from the understanding, they can apply that knowledge to the next thing, right?
Yeah.
So the more that we help them with different examples, with something that's abstract, maybe something out of the ordinary, or maybe they've asked you a question and you're sitting there and thinking, "I don't even know how to explain this," and then just say to them, "Do you know what, guys? Can I come back to you on this in a bit?" Right? And then you'll think of something. You'll be in the shower like we do. We've talked about that a lot, right? When your mind is off the thing, you'll learn, you'll bring that back, inshallah.
Sure.
So you can always give them, or you'll be like we said, you might be in the kitchen cooking, and then you'll be like, "Oh, look, this is a convection current." All right, maybe if you're not a physics teacher, you won't say that. But the point is, that you can do stuff like that, right? Or why am I not using a metal spoon with this food, right? Why would I
Yeah.
not use a metal one? Why is it better to use a wooden one, and so on, right? So
Yeah.
all of these things will help you to understand. Now, don't do it too much, because then your kids will be like my kids and say, "Can you not turn everything into science, please?"
Do you know what? It will happen though, and it just naturally happens. Like, telling my girl not to put the metal plate in the microwave. And she'll be like, "Why?" I'm like, "This is what happens. Do you remember when you did that in science?" And then
Yeah.
she'll be able to relate to that. But even when it comes to spellings, one thing that we did growing up, and my mom still does, even as adults now, just to entertain us and the children, is I Spy. Do you know I Spy, don't you? I Spy with my little eyes, something beginning with, and it has to be an object in the room. And that forces my girl would always make mistakes because when she was younger she didn't know the letters, right? So it'd be a different, let's say, a C or a K, she'd get it mixed up, but it'd make her think about it. Like, okay, now she's gotten a lot stronger on that. Or hangman, right?
Yeah, that's hangman, yeah.
Really good one. We still do that. I still find it so fun to do as well as an adult because it forces you to really think about the word that you have. And in our group, I'm going to send this app that we've been using for spellings, and it has a few different letters. You have to make words, like 10 words out of these few letters. It's like 7 letters.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
we've got that one.
and it's so difficult, but it really made, because it's frustrating when you don't know, right?
It is, yeah.
It really pushes you to increase your vocabulary as well. But and then for maths for younger children, my mom with us and I do with my girl now would say things like, on the way back from school, how many red cars can you see? Can you
Mm.
count them? And it helps with like their observation skills as well. Like she's going to observe all those red cars now and count them, etc. And it's about rewarding them in the smallest ways. It could be literally the smallest thing. It don't have to be food or chocolate, or money. It could be anything, depending on the age of your child. If we're doing well in a certain thing, you can say, okay, you don't need to do chores today, or you don't need to do, you can have an extra time out with your friends next week. It could be anything that's rewardable for them and that really
Yeah.
suits them, I think.
Yeah, or just playing outside. You can play outside for a bit longer. You can have your bath later. There's so many things, isn't it? Like you
Yeah.
can eat ice cream for dessert, that kind of thing. And it will just encourage them and motivate them to do whatever the work is that they need to do. Um, one of the things that Iram said last week was if your child's finding something really hard, as a homeschooler, you can leave it a while, and do it like later. It doesn't have to be done now. And I think that, in fact, Simon, you're saying the same thing here about the spelling bee, right? We don't have these in UK, thank God. Sorry. But because I've been bringing my kids up in international schools, it is a thing, and I know that they have this. There's a spelling bee and all of this, and it becomes, for me, I feel like that competitive part of it just kind of takes the fun out a little bit.
Yeah,
And so do you
growing
agree
up,
with that, Aisha?
I do agree, because growing up, when I had, let's say, your times table multiplication, when we were putting the pressure, even though I was pretty good at my maths, that pressure made me think, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I can't do this. And I would get things in my head wrong. And if I took like a second longer, I would like really shame myself inside and think, oh my God, I'm not quick enough. How can everybody do 6 times 7 so quickly? Why can't I get it? Even though I'd spent so long trying to revise, it was just too much. Not everybody can handle pressure. In fact, a lot of children can't deal with that.
Yeah. And I've noticed that when you give a child a class quiz, they always do better than the exam, like the end of term exam.
Yeah,
But in the class quiz, they'll get really good mark. But then when they're doing the end of term exam, all of a sudden they get a lower mark. And
gone.
it's literally because of that extra pressure, I think, because they're not a different person. They still understand the subject. They still understand what they're doing. And they'll get the better marks. Sister Hummer said she's got a spelling bee in a school in Bradford. Good luck, sis.
All is that.
But yeah, it's so yeah. So if it is competitive, you can, inshallah, kind of opt out of that aspect of it and still help them do the spelling. And I love the game that Sister Aisha said, because the words, that bonus word, sometimes the last one that you have to get, it's like a 4-letter word sometimes at the end, and they give you like a bonus word.
Yeah,
So when my kids play it, and they'll come to me and they'll go, Mom, I can't get this bonus word. And sometimes it's really something really simple, because it's only a
yeah.
4-letter word. And then you'll get it and they think that you're so super clever, and I just love it.
Oh yeah, yeah. You think you've won up to your children, but actually it's something like kite.
And it's all like, okay.
There's superiority going on, isn't it?
And Sister Simon says you want to encourage them and make them feel confident. That's absolutely brilliant, mashallah. And I do agree with you that you should kind of give them that push and make them feel confident. So you will probably practice with them, sit at home, like I said, play the hangman, play the games that we're talking about. There's also a few websites. I think we should do the Spelling City one as well. That's a good one. And there's also typewriting ones that they just get the kids going with the work and they really enjoy it. And Sister S, I'm sorry sis, the rest of your name's not there, walaikum salam, and you said that she plays word games using the fridge magnets. That's brilliant, mashallah. And writing each of the messages as well, I love doing that. And I think, Aisha, you do that a lot with your daughter as well, don't you?
Yeah, and that was something that was suggested. I can't remember who said it. Like, write her little notes. And having said that, my girl has written an entire story. She really likes computing, but really, really has found this new love for computing. Right, and for some reason in their school they don't call it IT anymore. Like, it making me feel really old now, computing. But
Oh, really, really old.
really old.
There's been about 4 names since I was a kid.
But she loves computing, right? So she's written like an entire story. I just left her alone. She changed the fonts. She wrote all the story about chewing gum, actually, something about a lady and has chewing gum. And I was reading it out just not too long ago, and I thought, when you leave your children alone as well, the imagination that they have is absolutely amazing, because you're just letting them run wild. And I recently also watched someone talk about children and allowing them to get bored, and in that boredom it increases their creativity. Because I've seen that in my girls. So I only have one child, right? Alhamdulillah. And so she's had plenty of time to get bored, right? And in that time I have realized that's when she's created the most amazing games that we have to get involved with. And she's realized that not everyone is going to be her friend in these games either. So she's learned some amazing lessons along the way. But one thing I wanted to add before we eventually have to wrap up is praise your children even if they're not doing well, and even if they're finding something so difficult. Praise them, say, look, I see you're doing that such hard work, and I'm so proud of that work that you're putting in. Because I think sometimes we're conditioning our children to always be the best and always do the best and always do everything right. But it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not get the grade that they want. It's the effort that matters. And I had to really push hard on that last year when my girl had end of year 2 exams, and the school are really pushing on them. Like, it's an exam, it's an exam, it's an exam. They were babies. What are they? 5, 6, 7-year-old kids. They're babies, right? But they were still being pressurized into it. And you have to tell them, like, I see you and I'm so proud of all that effort you're putting in. I know that it might not be what you want right now, but honestly, that effort is amazing. You got to keep telling them that, even if it's not what you want. And that's difficult because as parents, we all want certain grades or certain things that our children do or say or have etiquette wise. But praise them even when it's hard. Inshallah.
That's really good advice, mashallah. Praising them and kind of encouraging them, like keep on encouraging them. Like they might be like, oh, this is really difficult, mom, I can't do it. Suleiman says that a lot to me. He's 8 years old and he'll just literally like throw his work, right? He'll be like, I just can't do it. At that moment, if I try to force him to do it, it's not going to be worth it. So I said to him, it's okay, let's take a break, right? And then we'll come back to it. Sister Salama, it's you. Thank you for telling me. And you've asked about any tips on how to increase concentration time. And this comes back to the same thing, giving them brain breaks. When they're trying to do the work, they've got 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes concentration span, right? So you've got to use that concentration span to the best of your ability or their ability for the work, right? So especially when Suleiman was about 4 or 5 years old, again, he had to learn, I don't know, some words, or I remember doing phonics with him or something, and I was at the table and he was literally like itching to move around. And I'd forgotten, because obviously the next child up from him is already like 9 or 10 years old. So I've forgotten how it is with a 5-year-old and how they can't really understand or concentrate. So I went back to the brain breaks for him. So it was like, answer this question, go and run over there, run back. I've got like 2 doors. I had 2 doors for the kitchen that time. So I would tell him to run out of that door, run back into that door, right? Or I would say, run up and down the stairs like twice or something like that. Or I'd say, go and say hi to the rabbit. We used to have a rabbit back then. It's dead now. But do you know what I mean? Like anything, it can be anything. It can be jumping jacks. It can be whatever you want, right? What it will do is it will be like he'll be waiting. He'll do the sum or the bit of phonics or the spelling or whatever, but really he's waiting for the next task. That's where his enjoyment is. But because he knows that's like Aisha said, the reward is that he gets to do something fun, he's more likely to want to do it. So that's one of the things that you can do with the concentration. It's something that we are all suffering with at the moment. It's hard to concentrate. There's always lots of things going on. So we need to, like, for example, even us on our phones, turn off your notifications, put the phone on do not disturb mode, like get used to using that, get used to using flight mode. Just turn off those distractions so that you can concentrate more. And as we said at the beginning, what we said, once the mother concentrates, once we increase our concentration time, they'll increase it as well. But for concentration, a really good tip is to just sit with them and meditate. Now that sounds a bit like, well, you know, we've got namaz, we've got zikr, we've got worship of Allah. Why do we need to sit and meditate? But with this one, it's literally like it's practicing concentrating, so that when they do get to go do their namaz and do their salah, they'll actually attain better concentration with it. So they'll be able to sit there for longer once they've got to that concentration level. Does that make sense? Yeah. Just like the kids that memorize Quran for hifz, right? So I've taught loads of children that have gone off for a couple of years. They've not been in a mainstream school. They've gone off for 2 or 3 years to do their hifz, and then they come back in year 9 or 10, right? And then you think that because they're in year 9 or 10, sorry, just my mother-in-law's walking past, because they're in year 9 or 10, we then think, oh, they've missed so much, right? And they're not going to be able to catch up. But actually, their brains have been exercised so well that they catch up and they do really well in their exams as well, mashallah. So concentration is like one of those important things that we need to work on. Sister Huma says that, is there any insight in preparing for the 11 plus exam? So my experience of the 11 plus is when I was about 11. I was the eldest of my family. And my mum was like, right, you're doing the 11 plus, right? The grammar school, the closest grammar school to me was a bus ride away. Even though they knew they probably weren't going to send me to the grammar school anyway because it was too far, my mum and dad thought it was important that I do this exam. So having that personal experience of it, I would say that it gave me good, I would say, training in verbal reasoning skills and the problem solving that you get to do. So I do feel like that was good training, but I don't believe that every single person has to do the 11 plus exam, and it depends on your child, right? So if your child is academically minded, they are into like kind of, they like the studious environment and they enjoy learning, then maybe it is a good environment for them. But if your child's not like that, if your child's like, I don't like studying, I'm not into that or whatever, then I would say try to, you know, don't force them to do the 11 plus. Now, again, as a teacher, I often get asked, do you teach the 11 plus? And I don't. Right? I don't, because I believe that the children that will do well in their GCSEs in a grammar school are the ones that are already at that level, right? And that's from experience of, like I said, being in the schools, being a teacher, working in schools, and being in selective schools. So when I went to my sixth form, it was a selective sixth form, and they used to select the students that already did well in their GCSEs, so they would do well in their exams. And what people think is, oh, if my kid goes to that school, they're automatically going to do well in their exams, which is not true, because they've chosen the kids that are going to do well, if that makes sense. Yeah. So that's one thing about the schools. Now, in terms of preparing them, you've got to go to WH Smith or Amazon and get the bond books. You can get them from age 7 and 8, and you can just carry on until about age 11. The bond books, I think, are brilliant, and I do them with my kids, although they're not preparing for any exams, but it just gives them those extra problem solving skills and things like that they can do. The verbal reasoning, like which one is the odd one out, which one should be, which one goes in this group, which one doesn't go in that group. Do you know what I mean? So those kind of things. And if your child like does them well and they enjoy doing them and they learn with them, they probably only need 1 hour of tuition a week extra, because you do need to coach them a little bit, but you shouldn't need more than 1 hour a week. If you need more than 1 hour a week, then think about the decision to put them in an 11 plus school, if that's all right. Yeah. Okay. Realizing that we're getting close to an hour. Are you still okay for time, Aishah? Do you need to go
Yeah.
anywhere? You're all
No,
right,
no.
yeah? Okay, Charlotte. So Sister Samiha is asking if I can elaborate on meditating. Yeah, I can, but also it's something that's personal to you as well. So can I come back to that one actually?
I want to add something to that actually, though.
Okay, go on then.
Because my girl started reception just a year before COVID, one of the things they introduced, as you know, we started getting the news about COVID quite early, didn't we? They introduced children's yoga, and it's a very simple. It wasn't anything that, because there's a difference of opinion on yoga, but the things that they would teach to children are nothing that would come into that it's not allowed kind of thing. And for my girl is very high energy. She's even louder than I am, and she just has, mashallah, she's a very high energy person, right? And that has helped her to keep still. So as a stepping stone for children, I always recommend that. We still do it, by the way, even when she's really high in energy and she just needs like what we call quiet time. You guys will probably know that from school as well, like just bring in the levels from zero, from 100 to at least a 10. I'm okay with 10. We always really calm down together, but we both do it. That's the difference. We both do it together. Yeah, there's things that we don't have enough space for, because we're both tall as well. So we don't have enough space for me to do it, all of it. But it's so fun to do with them, because number one, it's easy to do, and number two, it's calming them down and it's getting into the routine of stillness. So we started off doing that however many years ago, but we continue to do it now as a starting point. And then we carried out something called quiet time, which was generally, it would really actually for us now, it is actual silence. So we both can be doing something. We could be reading, we could be writing, we could be watching something, but it's still a quiet time, which means that we're just slowly bringing our energy levels down. And now, her at 8, alhamdulillah, we're able to say, okay, now it's that time of the day. All I need to say now is it's that time of the day, and she knows what that means. I'm going to work now. So if I was here on a call, she wouldn't be here, because she knows, it's quiet time now. I got to go do my own things. Now, I appreciate I only just have the one, right? And when you have a few, that's probably going to take you a few years to implement, because everybody's at a different stage. But start off with the kids' yoga just to calm them down and instill that still time in their brains to relax. Usually at the end of the day or towards the evening, like after your madrasa runs and all that, that's when we put it in to calm them down. And then eventually you'll be able to put that into any time that you need it putting into, whether that's just before a school day to calm them down, or after a school day where they really need decompressing. Our daughters call it yoga bugs. Oh yeah, that's such a nice word, isn't it? Yoga bugs. Yeah, you can find loads of videos on
Yes, online.
YouTube, and I love them. I think they're so cool, because they have a woman that has just the most calming voice. And so no wonder children love it, because I loved her. I just don't remember what her name is. I loved her to bits. I thought, wow, this is so cool. Especially reception, right? Like there's 30 of them, 29, 25, however many, bouncing off the walls all day. They needed something to just really calm them down. That was their PE. And then we just carried it on.
I think, yeah, that's brilliant, mashallah. I think when I said let's come back to it, I wanted to do that next, but it's okay. So yeah, I completely agree with whatever Aisha said, like the quiet time, meditating and thinking about what's gone on during the day as well. like reflecting on what's gone on during the day. That's one type of stuff that one sort of activity that we do. But the other one that I've actually brought in now is about batting your thoughts away. So did you remember Coach Yusra? She mentioned it as well in the Zoom meeting
Yes.
that
Yes.
we had during the conference. It
Yes.
was basically what you do is you try to empty your mind. So you're sitting down, you empty your mind, and the thoughts will come to you, but you've got to actively bat them away. So you're trying to keep your mind as empty and free as possible. And like Coach Aisha said, the same thing. Have a time during the day which we call quiet time, which is for Hafsa, she loves to color. She loves to just do these weird, like, oh, you're talking about yoga. I don't know what she does because she's literally so flexible.
Oh, kids
And,
are that amazing.
and I remember being at my cousin's house a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, "Have you seen what she's doing?" And I was like, "Yeah, she does that all the time." He's like, "Oh, I can't wait till my son does it." But it was like she was just in some weird contortion, right? But what it does is it really does free your mind, because there are millions of things that we're thinking about all the time.
Yeah.
And when we pray, everyone, like when we get older and we realize that we want to get our, we want to focus and we want to pray and we want to be like, have no distractions, but we're not used to it ever. Right. So it's like training for that. And I also have, again, we'll send it as a link in the group, but there are like mindful meditations that they walk you through a meditation, and it's got really nice sounds at the back, like you're in a forest or you're near the water or you're near the sea or something like that. So for me, what I do is I take them to the beach, and sometimes they will be running around. They cannot just sit still on a beach, like taking kids to the sand and water. You're crazy. Sit down and be quiet.
But there as well, running with them.
Yeah. But actually, when you do realize that when you come back, how you feel is like amazing, and you're not even actively meditating, you're just there in nature and surrounded by nature. And that also will help with your focus and your concentration, because they say like go to your green environments, like those like natural kind of environments, the forest, the desert, the background, the beach, whatever it is. Then the more natural it is, the more that we're in tune with our surroundings, the more that inshallah they will be calmer as well. And also it does help to calm them down, because they'll be, like you said, bouncing off the walls, going a bit crazy, but then you just say, right, everyone lie down. There was a game that we played as well, and I was trying to think of it. I remember now. It's called Dead Lions. Do you remember it?
Oh, I think it's similar to Sleeping Logs.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And they just literally have to stay still. And then if they move, they're out. So they definitely stay still. And it's just, again, it just gives them that idea to calm down.
Something I want to add though, before I forget, there's two things that I know a lot of schools have implemented, which we have started to implement at home. And it's you spoke about batting away thoughts. That's amazing for us as adults, but for our children, there's something which we called the worry dolls. Are they called worry dolls? Because in her school certainly they have like boxes or an actual doll thing that you put there. So you would have just little bits of paper. The children will put their worries in there and they put them into this doll, right? And I think that's a great way of, like, we would journal as an adult, but you can't always get a child to journal, right? But they would just write, even whether it's a word or a sentence, it doesn't matter what it is, and they put them into this doll. And it's about taking that thought from their mind and putting it into a doll or somewhere else where they don't have to think about it anymore.
They can forget about it.
Yeah.
And Sister Rahma Rara is saying that yoga is forbidden in her country because they don't do meditation and they don't do yoga. We are definitely 100% not saying that you do any of the stuff like those particular I can't think of any of them, but the one that I remember is hello, when they say hello to the sun. What's that one called?
Is it
Salut,
rating? Life keeps
salutation,
rating.
sun salutation, something like that. We don't do those poses, and it's just baby yoga. It's not like what you're
It's,
talking about.
it's it's just stretching exercises. That's all it is, honestly. Otherwise, I wouldn't have mentioned it at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do have to be very, very careful with the type of music that's used, what you are told to do, if it's guided, all that sort of stuff. Please be mindful of that. That's a
That's why
big
I said I'll
disclaimer.
share meditation rather than say Google it to you, because I know the ones that we can use and the ones that we can't. Yeah. Because
Yeah,
the guided ones, they're just like, they just help you relax, and you just get these images in your head of like, well, I don't know if anyone saw you know, that landing page with the yellow flowers. What did I use that for? The parenting conference, wasn't
yeah,
it?
you did. Yep.
That's where I go when I meditate. That's my
You
happy
know what?
place. That
That
meadow with
reminds
the
me.
yellow flowers,
It's probably gonna make everyone laugh now, but that reminds me of
the song.
yeah, it does. Yeah, the Shadow Khan and Kajal running through that. What's the song called? I don't remember.
I'm not going to embarrass myself by speaking in Hindi right now, but yeah, we'll talk about it afterwards.
Yeah,
Right.
it's that one.
The final one question that Sister Fatima has said: how to increase the child's concentration for home tasks in a secret way. Okay, so I just wanted to mention this one because Hafsa the other day complained, and she said, I want to send my grandma, my mum, she wanted to send my mum a note, a voice note. And I said, what do you want to say? And she said, I just want to tell her something. I want to tell Nanny something. So I just want to send her a message. I said, okay, fine. So I gave her the phone. I said, go on, send her the message. And she said, Nanny, you know what happened? Well, Aisha, she did my job for me.
That sounds like my tale to my mom.
And she was really upset. So increasing their love for those tasks, honestly, it's weird, but it's like they're jealous of each other's task. It's so strange. I don't know why, but like if Aisha lays the table, but that day it was Hafsa's job, Hafsa is like, "Oh my God! Like, how dare you do my job for me?" And
Oh, I wish we had that. I was always told that by my sister. She would always say to my mom, "Mom, I already did it yesterday," and I'm like, "I did it yesterday, so I had to do it again."
Yeah. Maybe they'll get to an age where they feel like that, but like with the little two, that I think that I don't know if it's a girl thing or a boy thing, I'm not sure. But like the boys do their tasks as well. They take it seriously. So what we did, what I used to do, I used to make a chore chart myself, right? And I
Yeah,
used to sit
yeah,
there and be like, right, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing that. The other thing that I used to do was have a task for everyone. Like this is
yeah,
your job, and that's it.
yeah,
There's no moving from that. And that for a reason, because when I was a kid, my job was washing up, and I didn't mind it at all because
me
it's
too.
something that I didn't mind. Yeah. So
Yeah,
if you don't mind doing that job, you're more likely to do it. And so you can. So what's happened now in the last actually couple of months? It's not been long, is that they've actually made the rota themselves. They've decided what tasks are big kid jobs and what are little kid jobs. They've decided what is going to happen on each day. They put all of that together, and we do reward them. Obviously, we've said to them that you'll get your allowance based on the work that you do, but they're definitely motivated by it. Like it's because it's intrinsic, it's coming from themselves. They've decided. So I can always go back to them and say, well, I didn't make this up, you made it up. It's your
yeah,
turn today. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Whereas before it would be like, oh mom, you said this or you said that. They would have those days. And like I said, we still have those jobs that they have to do. That's their job only.
non-negotiable. Yeah.
um, yeah, so we still have those jobs, but nowadays they do switch jobs, whereas before they
Oh,
would never. Yeah, Now, like now, Miriam will make tea without complaining. Before she'll be like, "No, that's Aisha's job."
Yeah, no, I can understand that, because that was us as kids as well. Each of us had our own, like one would bring the dishes, the next would sort out, the other would like wash and then make sure everything was like wiped down. And in my job, I think that changed as, you know, as us girls like got married and left. It was up to the next one to fill that role, then up to the next one to fill that role. Now, joke's on them, isn't it? Three of them have to do it together. I have to do everything here now, so I can genuinely say it now. Like, I have to do everything.
Yeah.
But
But that's true, isn't it? And the thing is, again, we're teaching our children to be independent. That's where we started this whole thing off with, wasn't it?
yeah,
About us being independent and teaching them to be independent as well. So the more that they can look after themselves from a younger age, the better it will be, inshallah, later on. I've just really enjoyed this discussion. I don't want it to stop. What about you, Aishah?
no, alhamdulillah, it's been really, really well. Especially the first segment that we spoke about. Like, it's a
I wish
big.
that was the topic today, to be honest.
Can you edit the title?
Yeah, of course I can.
There, we've done it then. Alhamdulillah. No, it was a good discussion, and I have no doubt that we'll probably have more questions coming in. If you haven't already, please join our WhatsApp group so you can ask us all the questions, inshallah, and get the support from the other sisters as well. I think that's what I personally love the most about our group, is that no one hesitates. There's no hesitation in saying, "Oh, this is what worked for me. This is what's worked with me," and people are not shy to ask, which subhanallah is a very big deal, because we are seeing people not asking. You know, in general, I'm saying people do not ask because they think it's going to be judged. They're going to be judged. They're going to be shamed. But we don't tolerate that here anyway, and it doesn't happen for us, alhamdulillah. If there's anything where there's a difference of opinion, it's very respectful. It's very, very respectful in how that's conducted, but we're very quick to shut it down if it ever happened anyway. Just to, because I've got eyes of a hawk, even without my glasses.
We don't tolerate any of that, to be honest, because at the end of the day, we're all Muslim, and we're all striving for, the haqq, inshallah, and what that means to you, right?
Yeah.
So inshallah, we definitely will love to have you all on the WhatsApp group. I have put the link in there, so if you haven't seen it, it's right here. Please do join us and do join the discussions, and just share. Excuse me. If you have enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends. Let them know that there are some sisters and they've got together and they're trying to help us raise children in this ever-changing landscape, because stuff that I think we said 2 years ago is now sometimes some of it's not even relevant anymore, is it, Aisha? Like, if you think about the first conference that we did till now, some of it isn't even relevant in the time. So it's always changing. So having the kind of the eyes of everyone on it is really important.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Plus, we have an ever expanding team as well, alhamdulillah, who have come from different types of backgrounds, have different qualifications, have different experiences, and of course our beloved members themselves. Everybody has a different background and coming on to help each other, and that is our aim, isn't it? Like, just genuine help for the sake of Allah, and just receiving zero in return, because it is a sadaqah for us and of course each other. It's sadaqah for all of us, and may Allah accept it all from us, ameen. But I can't wait to see you all in the chat, and if you do join, please introduce yourself, let us know where you're from, etc. So we'd be happy to reply to that as well, inshallah.
We'd love it, inshallah. Just to let you know that Coach Farida is doing her course on confidence and productivity, which again goes with what we were talking about today, right? Yes. So everyone in the supporters group and in the inner tribe gets free access to these courses. So if you would like to join us, please look down below in the description box. You'll see the link to join us, inshallah, for this month. So, Jazakallah khair for your time. Thank you so much for staying with us. Me and Aisha love talking, so we've enjoyed talking to you today. Alhamdulillah. And if there's any comments, please do let us know. You can always email us, you can WhatsApp us, you can send us messages. Try not to send messages to all the coaches. You can send it to me and I'll forward it to the right person, inshallah, because I don't want them to leave the group because they keep getting harassed. So I would like to keep them all on the group. So inshallah, let us know if there's anything else that you'd like help with. Inshallah. All right then. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Keep us in your dua.